Alright, it's spooky season, and you know what that means? Hearts and Minds. A mini-event where you play a single mission for a handful of rewards, and the time thingy here is wrong, and no one cares because, F that. It's up. Play it. Do it now. Because it's a limited time event, and only for a few days every year. And here, we're going to take a look at it. Talk to your faction ally intel thing. This was predates Legacy of Romulus, so it doesn't have a Romulan intel agent assigned to it, so you go through either Franklin Drake or Kamin, whoever your faction ally is.
Several years ago, a reclusive Vulcan scientist.
It also has a significant amount of voicing.
Settled a research station on a moon.
This is Sibak. It says unknown as a, you know.
Of considerable power, and having him on the neutral.
Yeah, I'm going to do spoilers for this because
sort of information the Federation might be uncovering through his telepathic skills.
Command has no idea what's going on. This has unique things though, because like the zombie dance emote was not part of the original rewards. The original rewards for this were actually just the Sibak doff and the Vulcan Lirpa. The zombie dance emote got added much later. Also, yeah, it actually did have voicing in the initial incarnation, I think. Anyway, though, so. Yeah, Dr. Sibak is doing weird stuff, and note how it calls him a psionic adept. That is interesting. Because Vulcans usually aren't called psionic adepts. It's atypical. Anyway, let's get on with it. Investigate. Now, for this, there's options. This is not a good option. I'm going to switch to Narina. Oh wait, hold on. Never mind. I forgot which one I was going to do. Okay, so for this, honestly, I think 21 would probably be the best option. I mean, it's a matter of the exact specifics of what you're going to have to fight here and deal with, because it has this unusual assortment of enemies. Cool beam in cutscene. You don't really need to go to that much work carefully choosing. Oh yeah, fun fact. The turrets don't come online until you step into the room. They're just standing there, waiting.
Warning.
Now they're online.
Initiating quarantine protocol.
Really isn't a whole lot you can do to them. Because they're just turrets.
Warning. Hazard control damaged.
Yeah, this mission used to have an effect where, like, oh, you're slowly dying. It gets considered a hazard now, so the game automatically switches to an EV suit, and now you don't need to worry about the deadly gas. Alright, time for the puzzle. When this was first done, this was actually the single hardest version of this puzzle that was ever seen in the game. And I already screwed it up. Oh yeah, that's right. It needs to go blue, green, white, if I remember right. There you go. Yeah, this is one of those things where you... Oh, actually it tells you blue, green, white here. Yeah, okay, it helps to read the puzzle hint, doesn't it? Anyways, done with that. And go back to normal thing. You know, I'm going to switch outfits. It just occurred to me that the other one would be more fun here. Anyways, so this is a relatively old mission, so it has a relatively simple thing. And using, you know, easy access. You can, of course, do the tricorder scan thing, but for this particular mission, tricorder scan isn't reliable because of the fact that the way the mission was written. It was written to not be as easy and straightforward as normal story missions are. Part of what makes it cool. Examine the lab for clues. Yeah, it doesn't actually tell you scan the body. There's no objective marker on Dr. Sibak's body. Because that's kind of sort of what makes it, you know, a challenge. Now this says explore further into the station. Is the door actually open? Nope. You have to go find his notes. Now this is something that's interesting to me because when you look around the station, you know, like, okay, here we have a bunch of boxes storing stuff. That makes sense. Look in here, you see several beds and small tables. It's very empty. It doesn't look like anyone's actually living here, but it has stuff set out for 4 people to live in this room. And same is true of this room. See, now when we scan, it tells us to look in that room, which it didn't until we looked at Sibak's body. It wasn't pointing us to this room at all. Here we see something very disorganized compared to the other 2 rooms. Let's read the data. You actually have to.
Medical log, stardate 89325.
When it's talking about neurotoxins specifically, we'll find out what he means later.
Shows promise. Culturing additional specimens.
Also, what does he mean by additional specimens?
Ionizing radiation causing visions. Must log for further research into clairvoyant projections.
Oh, yes.
Medical log, stardate 89332.14. Specimens showing additional aggression.
Yeah, what does he mean by specimens, though? There's 2 kinds of specimens here. One of which is significantly more dangerous than the other. Note, he said he's kind of telling you what the passcode is for the other door.
Emotive control faculties regenerating. Huge success. Medical log, stardate 89340.05. Difficulty concentrating on telepathic transfer. Replicating a space more conducive to concentration in the ionizing zone.
We're going to find out what he's talking about there soon. Yeah, the person who wrote this had a lot of fun making hints at what you're going to see later. Like, why does he have this here? It looks an awful lot like a prison cell. And there's several of them. Also, why are there several of these medical examination beds here? Oh, and why did the door suddenly open? Oh yes, we'll find out soon. Oh yeah, by the way, if you have the bond with life trait, you absolutely can get one of these spiders. Now, yeah, what he was saying about neurotoxin, he was using spider venom. This particular kind of spider, if it bites you, it actually will have a slowed effect on you. And they count as beasts for accolade purposes, I guess. I never thought about that before. There is actually several of them here. It's not a great way to get credit for that. Also, you see how their cages appear to have been broken out of, as if they'd been left unattended for a long time and were trying to find food. Yeah, they don't eat the corpses in the corner, though. Maybe they can't eat people in these biobeds. I don't know. Because, like, the dead Sibaks aren't decaying, seemingly. Or maybe they were just recently dead. Questions. Yeah, the door's already open. We do actually, I think, need to read this terminal before we can continue. Yeah, the whole thing you said about ionizing radiation, though, note how there's a foggy effect.
Symptoms of Bendy syndrome most readily manifest themselves in behavior rather than biology. To facilitate testing, I am engaging in a series of mind melds to give each experimental subject a copy of my personality. Any subject with Bendy syndrome will display aberrant behavior.
Yeah, this is one of those things where Vulcans have that issue, and it's not entirely clear what causes it, because, you know, they just don't bother with that. Now, I am going to tell my bridge officer to stand over there, because I mentioned earlier that this mission has some particularly unique stuff in it, and you're about to see one of the things. Oh yes, this is a fun cutscene. These are all still in stasis. Now this is notable because this is a case of a hostile NPC that you can talk to.
Your presence here introduces an unknown variable into my research. Completion of my research is of paramount importance. Therefore, you must be eliminated.
Is this the original Sibak or one of the clones? Yeah, the original Sibak was the guy dead on the table that we scanned earlier. This guy talks like the original Sibak, but he really isn't, because he has a copy of Sibak's personality made with a telepathic information transfer. Note how all of my ability icons are lighted up, as if the game wants me to blast this guy in the face. He won't turn hostile until you close this dialogue window. However, if you or your bridge officer shoots him before opening this dialogue window, you won't get the opportunity to do this. Now he's hostile, see? That didn't do anywhere near as much damage as I was expecting it to. And assimilated. Mwahahaha. Note how the drone looks exactly like Sibak. That is an interesting thing that I don't remember seeing before. It's an exact copy of the NPC. Huh. However, if you look at this, you note that it changed the faction's identity to Borg and not Vulcan. Because Sibak has a unique faction identifier, which we can see if we look at one of the clones. See, it actually has a faction identifier Vulcan. Okay, he's not actually the only one now. There are actually some Vulcan science whatever characters in the Discovery missions that use that too, who are friendly, not enemy. Well, okay, they get possessed by that whatever spirit thingy. But whatever. When this was created, it was the only thing in the entire game that used that faction identifier. At least for combat missions. May have had someone on Vulcan that used it. But it was something very, very unusual. Anyway, though, if you may have noticed that some of these guys are actually twitching, because these guys are all NPCs. They are set to a unique script, though, to make it so that you can't target them, you can't damage them. Nothing you can do will harm them in any way, shape, or form. Trust me, I've tried. Anyways, oh yeah, we need to just tell her to stop standing in the corner. Alright, so, all of these are glowing. Well, it's a single interact. Yeah, a very, very large single interact. Now for the fun part. This door, the first time I played this, I actually got KO'd on normal difficulty because there's actually several Sibaks waiting on the other side of the door. Let's play. And they can stun you. I did, however, manage to assimilate one of them again. Assimilation is great for that because you create cannon fodder to keep enemies from attacking you. Alright, and we are now done. It's a very simple mission. Before we go, however, I'm going to take a look around this room. So it's like a lot of these are things you will actually find if you look around on the Vulcan map, like these statues. There are very similar statues in Vulcan. And there are... these assets are all things that are borrowed from other missions in the game. None of the assets was actually like created for this, as far as I know. A lot of the early Federation interiors use this floors, walls, and environmental stuff because, again, Sibak is using Federation technology for what he's doing. He's just, you know, doing weird things with it. And this is what he was saying about a meditation room to make it easier to copy his personality. And if you noticed, this was the room where we had several of the Sibak clones waiting to fight us. Because this is where they were coming to meditate and stuff. Because all of them were obsessed with trying to figure out the whole cloning thing and stuff. Notably, the one we get from the as a mission reward is actually one of the ones in the tanks, not one of the ones we just shot. Anyway, so time to turn the mission in. Why am I turning this in and not clicking the leave button? Because there's a old bug in this game that would sometimes cause mission status to reset if it had decided that you didn't do the mission completely perfectly when you leave the mission, and sometimes that means you will have to completely do the mission all over again. So if you turn it in before you exit...
It seems that the Vulcans are just as susceptible to madness as anyone. I will send a team to scrub the facility and see if any of his research might be of use. I doubt it, though. It is best, perhaps, simply to consider this case closed.
Now, one thing that's notable about this is that the dialogue you get from Kamin is not the same as the dialogue you get from Franklin Drake. Because, again, Klingon perspective versus Federation human perspective. Very different. They end up doing the same thing, however, they have different rationale when explaining why they do it. And also, what the information they give you on why they want you to come here is also very different. In Franklin Drake's case, he's like, oh yeah, this guy was kind of sort of working with us, doing research, and we haven't heard from him for a while, so we want you to go check on him. That's the basic gist of what Franklin Drake tells you. But when Kamin told us earlier, he was suspicious that Sibak was doing something to be sneaky about affecting the Klingon Empire. Not, you know, what? Very different logic. Anyway, so let's look at the rewards. Again, this is a Sibak duty officer. Here we have a Psi Stun Lirpa. This is really not a good Lirpa. It really isn't. It has two unique modifiers that are useful in certain situations. The psionic damage it does really isn't all that much. However, you know, it is unique in the fact that it actually lets anyone who is holding it do psionic damage. I think the psionic damage even scales up when you upgrade it, so I'm genuinely not actually 100% sure how much psionic damage the max level version does. And here is the real reward, the zombie dance emote. Actually, checking to see if you have done this mission is easy by just look at the emote list to see if you have the zombie dance unlocked. Because, again, it's the real reward for this. And yeah, this is the zombie dance. They actually have this in Champions Online too. It's just that the method of getting it is different and not seasonal. However, the one in Champions Online is really, really hard because it involves doing kill counts of a lot of enemies. Anyway, that's enough of that. Alright, you know, one thing I'm going to do quickly before I close this out. Stat comparison of a Psi Stun Lirpa with a regular Lirpa. Yeah, sure, Tristana. Visit the exchange in Tristana. That's an easy one.
Welcome to Josana.
Ah, yes, the spooky season, and one of the spookiest missions in the game. Oh, yeah, the other mission people talk about being super spooky. What lies beneath is beneath this floor. Oh, yeah. That mission also has spiders in it. Anyway, so, exchange. Exchange is over here. Lirpa. Alright, here is a Lirpa Mark XI. Alright, for ease of comparison. This one here, Psi Stun. It currently tells me it does 148 physical damage with a DPS of 247, and that 148 has 16.4 psionic damage tacked onto it. Now, if we look at a Mark 11 with Crit D, this does a slightly different amount of base damage listed. But, you know, a Mark 12 is considerably more. Now, let's look at a Mark 11. This says 152. 152 is only 4 points more, and that's far less than the psionic damage. So, you know, the psionic damage mod here is actually better than a regular damage mod in terms of the amount of damage it does. Oh, and yeah, that. These aren't bound to character when you pick them up, so you are fully allowed to sell them. It's not a particularly amazing reward, so hey, why not? And you only get one per each time you run the mission. Still though, the psi damage mod is better than a regular damage mod. Unless you're crit stacking, you know, whatever. The problem is Lirpas really aren't great weapons compared to the other ones. Whatever. Anyway, let's look to see how this scales up when... Oh yeah, you can even salvage it. We don't want to do that. Now, let's look at this. This shows it as not actually scaling up. 16.4 psionic damage, even ranked up. Okay. You know what? I will throw one of these at it. Just one. Just to see if it actually doesn't scale at all. Oh yeah, also, uh, its default quality is blue, which means that you can upgrade the rarity 3 times: purple, ultraviolet, and then gold. Oh, one upgrade kit was only enough to upgrade it 1.5 levels. Anyway, though, so it's at 16.4, that still says 16.4, and that still says 16.4. So, at Mark 11, it's better, but at higher levels, it becomes less good. Alrighty then. Yeah, also, it only has a 5% chance to stun things, so that's not very good. Seriously, stun phasers have the same effect. Oh yeah, let's look at re-engineering quick. You can't. Okay then. I'm genuinely not sure what you get if you manage to upgrade it, and I don't feel like going that much work. It's probably on the wiki. I don't know. Alrighty then. Well, I'm going to call that done. Oh, right. I didn't look at show you what this Sibak duty officer does. Note how this says psionic traits. There's a very, very short list of those in the game. However, you know, if you really want to reduce their recharge time, this does something. And also, you can have more than one advisor slotted on active duty, I think, if you wanted to. And anyway, though, that is all of the rewards for this and the mission itself. So, see you guys later.